没有走完的路不会是终点，故事的走向是自己选择的坚持。
这个故事的开头还算不错，相信过程，相信自己走过的路。
那些最激动人心的冒险，从来不是单枪匹马的挑战。
과거는 잊으세요. 내일이 새로운 시작입니다. 내 경기가 새로운 도전입니다.
我们愿意为胜利付出许多代价，改变只是其中之一。
어떤 사람이든 현재에 만족하지 않고 어떠한 사람이든 제자리 걸음을 하지 않는다.
过去的荣耀就存留在记忆中，这一抹红色要照亮未来。
为之付出的心血越多，收获的果实才越甘甜。
赛场上的事怎能尽如人意？我只想追求无愧于心。
保持微笑，胜利总会专顾你。
在尝过赢得一切的滋味之后，你绝对不会甘心做第二名。
尖矛和利刃是勇者的武器，也有最坚硬的盾和扬起风帆的大旗。
如果翻不过这座山， 他们就听不到你的故事。
这个故事的结局将由我们来谱写。为了无悔，为了胜利，为了站在世界这边。
The LPL is still on top of the world. We just won MSI. Uzi won Spring Split. He's starting to pick up some wings here. And speaking of, wins, I think I can figure out what's on my mind. Is that guy there is praying for some victory for LGD. The Angel himself is coming in to try to get his home team a win in this as LGD make their way into this. They've made a few changes with their coaching staff. They've brought in a new player that we're going to get to see in just a second. Don't want to spoil the surprise yet, unless we literally see him right now. Stop changing shots. All right, that's him right there. We'll get to that in a bit. But again, Vici, the newcomers coming into this. 0-3, Easy Hoon trying to lead his team to victory. Newcomer in the top lane. Audi has been putting in absolute work, everyone. But welcome back to the LPL. My name is Dom. And joining me here is Zach Rusty Fly, a.k.a. Zach Rusty Pie.
Hey, what? Hi.
How you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's going to be a long day for League of Legends. We're excited to bring it to you. Of course, we start slow, we ramp up to the best teams at the end as well. So hang around, you'll get the best at the end.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of good League of Legends coming at you today. Before we get to what that's going to be, though, let's actually take a look at the standings and see how all of the teams shake out. As we were talking about yesterday, we got to see Rogue Warriors once again continue their undefeated streak. 3-0. They've not dropped a single game so far. In addition to that, Team WE took up their first win of the split, finding themselves now 1-3 in the standings.
Yeah, big wins for each respective team yesterday. Rogue Warriors, of course, beating Snake to secure themselves in first place. And when you look towards the other side of the bracket, we'll see 6 of the 7 teams today. The only one that we don't get to see is Invictus Gaming. And that's unfortunate because IG are sitting on top of the table right now, 3-0, even though they've only been playing Duke.
Yes, well, that looks to be very fun to watch them, of course. Today, though, we've got LGD versus Vici Gaming in our first matchup. Then after that, Suning versus Jingdong in the e-commerce wars part 3. And finally, our last game of the day, Royal Never Give Up are going full anime as they take on Billy Billy.
They've certainly embraced it. Their social media has got the anime going everywhere. And of course, that e-commerce war that you allude towards before as well is a very exciting one to see these teams clash against each other. Rookies with a lot of potential. And we're starting to see that finally realized.
Yes, and of course, if you want to know more about the LPL and learn more about these teams and the standings in general, you can find out that information on the last podcast left. That's LPL for those of you who are abbreviating it. He's doing the... You're actually doing the hand thing.
Left.
You can find that on youtube.com/LPL content, and I'm sure all of us have retweeted it out. So find us on our own social media pages if you want more information on that, where we talk about this week's games and specifically the matches that we've got coming up. Because again, tomorrow up next, we've got the e-commerce wars in our second game today. But tomorrow, we also have our match of the week, the Betrayers EDG are taking on Team WE, two massive organizations coming to clash, and with WE finding their win, they could finally be finding the momentum to challenge EDG.
Yeah, this is a big one. EDG WE, just for the organizational rivalry before anything else, like you mentioned. These are the teams that have got a rivaled history, two of the best performing teams in our region as well, and as you mentioned, Team WE finally getting a win, so maybe the footing has been found, maybe Mystic was the secret all along, and they finally come in with some strengths to go up against EDG. But they're against iBoy, they're against Mako, two people playing out of their minds currently. That is no easy feat to win.
Yeah, and speaking of playing League of Legends, let's get back to our first matchup today. Vici Gaming are taking on LGD. Look, that wasn't an easy segue that you set up for me there, so we're bouncing into it. Vici Gaming are taking on LGD, and we got to be completely honest.
Yeah.
We're not expecting this to be a star-studded matchup, shaking the standings and all of that. Given the history of these teams, LGD has been... Look, you're ready to hop in.
Bottom of the barrel teams right now. It's very easy. And I had the segue for you as well. Match of the week tomorrow. Today is a match. Just a match. We get to watch that today. And the thing that needs to be considered for this match, we won't go too deep into it, this is a future thought that we just want to get out now, is this is potentially a wooden spoon rivalry between both respective teams. And I believe it's a British thing, so Pulse may be familiar with this as well. But the wooden spoon is effectively what happens when you finish last place.
Yes.
It's the last place battle that we'll see between these teams now, potentially, as both, without a win, both fighting to get that win, not looking very good so far. And the reason that this may be a rivalry for the future is that historically, like you allude towards as well, they haven't been that great. Vici were the team playing against TOP at the bottom, both 0-7 in spring, starting to happen again.
Yeah, we're starting to see that, though we are seeing some changes from these teams. Fire Rain playing more for the mid lane of Vici, also Audi in the top lane, and I was alluding about it earlier. I was joking that we may not get the chance to see him. LGD have also been making some changes as well. Not only have they brought in the new coach UDJ from JD Gaming, they've also brought in Y4 as an AD carry in that bottom lane, previously the substitute behind Uzi.
Yeah, this is a big conversation to have for LGD. You can tell that they want to fix something. You can tell that LGD is an organization. They've acknowledged that something is wrong, and it makes you wonder, of course, the new coach, is he pulling the strings?
Yeah.
Has he actually come in within a week? He's like, I want Y4, get him immediately. He's a star player that's been sitting behind Uzi. He's never going to get play time. Great opportunity for him. And credit to Y4 as well. We saw him at Rift Rivals last year where he was a decent player. He looked like a really good AD carry. Every time Uzi wasn't there, RNG still had that hyper carry player in the bottom lane. And of course, he's not Uzi, but as someone that can sub in for Uzi and make everyone very content with your performance, I'd say Y4 was super good. And joining LGD, now that Imp's gone, I think this is one of the best places for him to go to strut his stuff individually.
And this is something that LGD desperately need. When we look at how LGD play stylistically, it's through Jinnu in the top lane. He wants to carry, he wants to try to get these kills and pick up for his team. The difficulty therein lies, what happens when he doesn't succeed? What happens when he's ganked and when he's camped and there isn't another carry like Imp on the team to follow through?
Yeah, it's a weird world to watch LGD play right now in terms of style, because Jinnu was there with Imp and PYL.
Yeah.
So they tended to play towards their top side. He was the big carry, but at the same time, it's Imp and PYL. So sometimes they'll carry, but they're also lane-centric, and they wanted to win lane, and sometimes that was also not carrying. It was losing the game for your team.
Yeah.
Jinnu didn't have an easy time, to be perfectly honest with you, in the top lane. And so now Y4's here. PYL still wants to roam here and there and everywhere, and he has been doing so this split. The question is, can Jinnu carry? Absolutely. And we can get into that matchup in a second.
Absolutely.
And is he able to do so with Amy maybe still focusing with PYL going elsewhere on the map?
So let's actually get into that top matchup, because I talked about Audi now joining Vici Gaming. He was previously the substitute for Edward Gaming, and this is a very talented mechanical player. He's gotten solo kills against Duke. He's starting to build rivalries against some of the best top laners in the league, despite his team constantly being at the bottom of the standings. If anyone's going to give Jinnu a run for his money, it could be Audi.
I think Audi's going to be one of those players that just wants to soak up the Jinnu pressure. If you want to beat LGD, you just want to withstand Jinnu in the first place, right? There's no real need to be super aggressive and win that 1v1. Of course, he can do so. We've seen good things from Audi with the likes of the Darius that he's been playing, but he's also got a strong Ornn, so he can play the tanks, he can facilitate for the team, he can teleport in and contribute to the team fights incredibly well for Vici, which surprisingly Vici can do quite well as a new team with a lot of roster swaps. But for the top lane matchup, it does make me wonder, you know, what style Vici will go towards, because Jinu's definitely going to try and go for kills.
Yeah, well, we're going to see how that works out. Of course, the jungler interaction is also so very important watch coming into this. You mentioned Amy. Sometimes he's starting to see some more extreme upswings. He's starting to see some successful plays.
Yeah, I'll be blunt with LGD's jungler, Amy. He's had a pretty large scale of performances that he could have, and it varied from average to bad.
Yes.
But now he's finally added more to this scale, and there is a good side to it. From what we've seen in the LPL in this split, he has been a part of carrying for the team. Maybe it's not victories that they get outright with sets, but him individually has looked a lot better, and there is something else for him to be spoken towards. So that's a positive, firstly, for the top lane in Jinu. May have a jungler able to assist him now running around, getting kills. But we've also seen him go bottom lane Amy quite successfully as well. He's been ganking well, and it feels like this meta, it's chaotic. It may not make a lot of sense to some people. Amy was prepared.
Yeah, well, he is, again, one of the most experienced players in the league because he has been around for such a long time. So he's got that flexibility. But running through the rosters, it's their opponents, the newcomers to Hangzhou, Audi, Swift, Fire Rain, Snow, and Caveman for Vici Gaming.
And Fire Rain is going to be starting in that mid lane. It's not going to be Easy Hoon. He stays on the bench. Fire Rain's going to be carrying most of the mid-game burden here, as Easy Hoon just doesn't seem to exist. One game, I think he's played so far.
One single game. Maybe he'll get the chance to come out today. Again, that was after a loss, so maybe they're just trying to give Fire Rain some stage time as they get closer to playoffs and get some more experience for their roster, because this is such an important factor for Vici Gaming. Of course, their opponents, we've already talked about it. Jinu, Amy, Yuki, Y4, previously the substitute for Uzi, and PYL in the bottom lane.
And Y4's had a lot of time to learn and work under Uzi, to learn and work under the organization of RNG with their amazing coaching staff as well. Firefox still being there as a head manager or head general manager for the organization. So he's had a lot of time to grow and learn, and perhaps he can bring something new to the LGD organization alongside their new coach. Very refreshing change to see from them.
That we are now starting to see LGD try and step up by bringing in this new AD carry, by bringing in this new coach. Though they might be a bit slow to get into the meta, a little bit confused, as that Psyduck there casts confusion on LGD, and suddenly it's a new AD carry in the bottom lane. We'll have to see if they hurt themselves or if they successfully strike back against Vici.
I will avoid the joke on Psyduck and LGD, but I will say that there's even Nanzu signs in the background there for LGD. Their sub mid laner behind Yuki, who we have seen more Yuki than we have Nanzu, and we believe and we agreed upon at the end of the split that Yuki was just a better player, but they share champion pool. There's very small details that define the differences with them at all. And right now, I think LGD as a roster goes, adding Y4, definitely an upgrade over FDY, who was a young, strong mechanical player, but he lacked the experience that the AD carry of Y4 has got now with PYL. What I want to see, right, and this is the biggest thing about all of this, is that I want someone to rope PYL in. Because he's just, he's a loose unit.
Who on earth can do that?
Well, no one can, but I'm hoping that Y4 can try harder than everyone else can. Because I don't think Imp really minded too much when PYL went on solo missions. And I know that FDY, a rookie to the organization, was at the whim of PYL. So what I want to see is just something extra from Y4. The ability to say no is important.
I need you to stay in lane and help me push this turret. If that's going to be what it ends up being.
Then he's going to get Mobies on Fiddlesticks. And he's going to go to mid lane.
I was surprised that he hasn't embraced it even more and gone for the likes of Pyke. And just continued to roam and play towards that style that we sometimes criticize him for. But again, that style doesn't always work when your AD carry can't sit solo in lane.
Yeah, there's a full game, there's a full map to win, not just being able to roam in the jungle. Pyke also wants to stay in lane and roam when it's opportune, not just disappear at random moments. PYL has tendencies to disappear at random moments. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see if that's going to be the case in this one. Now, though, it's time for our casters to get us into this game one between Vici and LGD.
不破不立，只有经历巨变，老干爹才能重获新生。
Thank you, Don, but I feel like we're going to create some rivalries of our own, but between us and your analyst there. FLICKR, and take it away.
Yeah, I'm going to hit you with some hard disagreeing. Now, I understand we've got a lot to, or we don't have a lot to work with here. It's LGD versus Vici. I'm not going to kid with you. I'm not going to beat around the bush. This is a bottom-of-the-barrel matchup. One of these teams, though, has to win today. But things like Y4 sitting behind Uzi, Y4's not sitting behind Uzi. Y4 is sitting behind the dude who's sitting behind Uzi. So much so that he decided to depart the team and go towards LGD. And while Y4 has been known to put up huge performances on picks like Kalista. Kalista is nowhere to be found in this meta right now, and he does it next to Ming. So my question is, was it Ming or was it Y4 who actually looked very good? And I think we're actually going to get the answer today, because PYL is nowhere near the caliber of Ming, and if Y4 wants to step up and actually say that, yes, I am a huge upgrade to this team over FDY, he needs to show up now.
And I agree with you, Frost, but at the same time, he may not have a support in-game. PYL might just wander off and then he'll be 1v2. So, while that's true, it could be different in-game. At the same time, we might also see him playing a mage, but many questions to be answered in this one, as Vici will take away Singe, Zoe, and Xinjiao from LGD, and it will be a response of Pyke, Camille, and Vladimir.
I'm already disappointed that they're taking away Pyke. I would love to see another Pyke. Got to cast the very first one in the LPL on week 1, and it looks like Caveman's obviously been spamming that one a lot since LGD seemed to have picked this one up, but no surprise, it's going to be a Nocturne priority pick, and that's because Vici are defined not by EasyHoon anymore. Get that mind, cast it out of your memory. It is all about Swift. He is the hard carry, the focus of this team. He is a monstrous Nocturne, despite a couple hit or miss plays, but ultimately it hasn't been enough to get Vici over the line and find them a series win.
But this is still a much nicer identity to watch and also be if you're Vici Gaming, because before they were slow, they were methodical, and usually they were just a worse version of WE. Now they've created something new for themselves, and while it hasn't netted series wins, it has netted game wins, and that is a hell of a lot better than it was last split. So as you said, Nocturne first pickup from Vici, response Talia and Swain from LGD, and another response, Yasuo from Vici.
Yeah, the immediate Yasuo. So Yasuo is a great pick into the Talia, so to me that tells me that they're reading that Talia is going to slot into that mid lane position in Yuki's hands. His ability to jump on her because she is a relatively low mobility champion in terms of in the lane, not necessarily when she's out of the lane having those new movement speed combos there, and his Windwall's interaction with a lot of her, worked ground or pebble toss? You know which one I'm talking
Threaded
about.
volley.
That one.
That's the one.
This is why you're the play-by-play.
Hey. Vici are going to pick up the Rakan to go with that into what I would assume is the bottom lane, but who knows anymore. It could be AP Rakan mid. On the opposite side, LGD, Irelia is still open, so we're going to make that one a lock-in. That'll definitely dissuade the Yasuo from wanting to go against that one.
And what's really interesting to me is that it feels like there's kind of, 3 different metas. There's like the gold funneling strat meta, there's the Irelia meta, and then there's the ADC, traditional meta. And the LPL has started to move away from Irelia as just a perma-banned, blind pickable type of champion, because it feels like if something's been figured out in scrims, behind the scenes, whatever it is, that more teams are becoming far more comfortable with kind of these fringe counter picks to deal with this Irelia pick that was just running rampant at MSI.
Now, one of those is actually Yasuo in a small way. Now, I was talking to Rusty earlier, so thank you very much, Rusty, for this knowledge bomb I'm about to drop, but Yasuo can actually block Flawless Duet, not only the first activation, but the second activation, because instead of it being a line like Lux Laser, it's actually blocked on the second activation. So while Windwall can block it, Irelia just has a bad time. However, in the matchup, she still has an okay time because Windwall has such a long cooldown. LGD are going to take away the Darius, the Aatrox, and is going to be response of the Fiddlesticks from Vici.
But the interesting thing also about Irelia then is that if you have Talia and Irelia and Swain, so technically we have multiple flex champions that can slot to either jungle, mid, or top lane position. A lot of them have poor matchups into the Yasuo, so we assume that the Yasuo will probably slot to the ADC position rather than the mid, but it feels like a game of chicken in terms of these flex picks and who's going to blink first.
All will be the final ban from Vici, and that will be a response of the Alistar here. I'll be coming in for what you'd have to assume is the bottom lane, and then the opposite side will be Vici picking up the Ezreal. I said that you'd have to assume. I'm covering bases for us.
It hasn't gotten that crazy yet, Pulse. Yes, it will be the support Alistar. This is what I'm personally very much against the Ezreal. I know that there's mixed feelings about it globally. We still see him cropping up, one of the few ADCs that really hasn't disappeared alongside the likes of Lucian. But for me, yes, Ezreal has a 1-item power spike. He has a 2-item power spike. He can continue to hyperscale into the game if we do manage to get those stalled out games with kind of the new build path that started to take off at MSI, although it has had some tweaks. It's just not making the impact that I want it to make. I feel like when you do have an Ezreal champion, it usually is in tandem with someone like a Mundo, because Mundo does so well staying on the field, being that big meaty tank, constantly regening his health and allowing Ezreal the time that he can kite backwards, he can start throwing out Qs, he can be a poke champion. And speaking of poke,
Well, there's a Jace. And Jinnu, well, if you don't know him, he's a bit of a carry player up in the top lane, one of our stronger top laners in the league, just mechanically in the 1 versus 1. And Jace definitely fits him down to a T. So most likely he's going to be bringing this one up there. Well, this one will go bot lane, Talia in the jungle, of course, and then Irelia in the mid lane. So we'll see how much damage this Jace can do in the laning phase against this Mundo Pre-6.
So this is such a straightforward composition from LGD. You have a lot of powerful, if not just blatant winning matchups with a lot of kill pressure particularly, and then a jungler that loves to roam, will have high impact, high pressure, high tempo through the jungle with Talia's movement speed. But more importantly, these are all single power spike, single back power spike champions. You know, Jace is going to spike really early. Irelia pretty much spikes immediately on the Sheen, if not then the Trinity Force, whatever way she wants to build. And so that just gives LGD so much power in the early game to break lane phase open, you know, around 10 minutes, preferably before 15, and just blast someone like Vici.
And I would actually go one step further, Froska. You're talking about the spikes, but with Jace, in my opinion, he spikes at level 1, and as does Irelia into many matchups, because the strongest level 1 champions in the game, when you have more abilities, exactly. That's why the old Wukong, when there was just, like, less champions to worry about, was so strong, because he had Stone Skin at the same time. So it's just like you're dealing with multiple factors. Here, you have Irelia spiking level 1 because of her passive with Ionian Fervor, and the same with Jace because you can switch forms. So I think that the early levels here, including level 1, will be very important for them.
But then that means that I want to see LGD act on that type of information and that skill power. That if they're going to do it, invade level 1, split the map, make sure that you have, you know, complete access to a certain side of the jungle that you want, and then use that to leverage. Preferably, I'd like to see it done top lane, or at least whatever lane Jinnu is slotted in, so he can feel free to just go full force on this Jace and not have to worry about Swift creeping up in his gear.
And that's it. You really drew the attention to the jungle there, and I think that's what we have to track in the early game. Is like, what is Swift doing? Yeah, it's all about Swift.
Go.
Go on, guys. I know it's early in the morning, but that's what you got for game 2, I guess. But Vici taking on LGD. First matchup in this best of the 3. Now, keep in mind both teams are 0 and 3 right now, so someone has to win.
And as they were alluding to on the desk, which I'm in total alignment with, this is the precursor to when we walk into cross-conference in week 4, that the bottom-tier team will go up against the other bottom-tier team, and we will truly define who is the weakest team in the LPL.
Who is the weak? You had the opportunity to say who is the weakest link for us, and you passed it up. I'm disappointed.
Too much of a stereotype. Now, like we were talking before, in draft selection, we wanted to see an invade. Now, naturally, what this does is it splits the map, and it automatically creates a strong side because the vertical jungling will take place. What I find very curious, though, is that LGD decided to do it on the bottom side. Now, this could have been done for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, PYL is their captain and shot caller. Secondly, it's Alistar Swain. Like, this is such a kill bot lane once they have access to level 2, level 3 because of the hard CC. Third is that maybe they just want to cheese Swift and try to siphon buffs from him, especially with Amy's pathing, which was immediately from red, running up towards the river and grabbing Scuttle Crab.
We're going to ignore that, but we're going to have an interaction in the bottom lane, and Snow going to have to flash away from this one. PY and Y4 going to be very happy with this one. Caveman jumping back in, however, he spots PY out. Ignite goes down, flash away, another flash to follow, and first blood to Snow!
I will remember you. Oh my god, PYL, that was like probably a record. 20 seconds in lane, and he died, level 1? Okay.
That was unfortunate. I mean, it looked so good.
Did it?
For PYL and Y4. I mean, the initial trade, but the counter from Caveman was just huge.
I will say what looks good is this pathing from Amy. He's going to acquire both Scuttle Crabs as well as 3 buff Swifts. Swift will only have access to his Raptor Camp and his blue buff, maybe not all of his Raptor Camps if Yuki has his way. So while PYL just made a massive blunder in the bottom lane, Amy's doing real well.
Yeah. Yes, he is. And Amy historically has not been one of the stronger junglers in the LPL, but I'm not going to attribute all of that to Amy as a player. Often when I've watched his pathing, he'll walk towards somewhere, maybe a little bit late, yes, you can put that on him, but then he'll watch his lane die and be like, okay, I'm going to go to Crux, and then he'll just swap sides of the map, and he's always behind the play because his lanes are dying. Unfortunately, that's kind of what happened in this game as well.
And it's a huge issue because Alistar now doesn't have access to the flash, has the Hex Flash, only level 2, and again, you kind of missed your big window where you had kill threat, where you could have tried to abuse this Bruiser matchup, and instead gambled it all on a level 1, and that's going to bite him in the ass, frankly. It means that Amy has less to work with down here, which that's one less lane to gank.
Yeah, I fully agree, and I think part of that was the fact that Y4 just decided to take half his health bar at level 1 when he walked into the tri-bush, and he was like, this is okay, and then walked through Snow and Caveman. And
you know, I agree that LGD have diagnosed that there is a problem. It felt like for so long that they just kept running into the same brick wall repeatedly, saying, okay, eventually we'll win. We'll just keep the same roster. They've now blown everything up. They've put it back together. They're trying out, you know, pretty much different people in almost every single position, save for PYL, even Newt appearing in week 1, however. But I don't know if this is the solution. So while I'm happy that LGD know that there's a problem, they're trying to fix it, now time will tell, is this the correct way to go about it?
That really is it. Time will tell. So play there by Yuki, just dropping a back minion low with a Defiant Dance and right into a Blaze Surge. There is a cheese strat I want to see from Irrele players at some point, which is you interrupt an enemy Raptor camp while the minions are low, especially in a Nocturne who has to AoE the camp, and then you just jump through his entire camp, steal it away, have Ionian further from it, and then kill the enemy jungler. So I'm waiting for a mid laner to do it, because I know it's good, I just want to see it happen.
I mean, technically that's kind of what Yuki was trying to do when he
placed
his
exactly.
and
That's why
checked
I thought
out
about
what Nocturne was doing.
But unfortunately, there weren't enough minis at the time, or chickens.
Unfortunately, his bot lane intentionally fed, so.
Yeah, also an issue. If the bot lane is able to react to that one. And again, this bottom lane is starting to push forward once again from LGD. They still recognize that they have the stronger laning phase, even though they dropped this kill. And luckily, the first item is going to be a tier, so it's not like Ezreal's just going to blast them immediately.
But the problem is they lose so much kill pressure in those early levels because they didn't have access to the Ignite, which the Ignite is now finally off of cooldown. Still no true flash there, and like you said, Y4 also eating a lot of poke damage that he frankly doesn't need to eat. Just wait for your creep wave to come in. You're not missing anything on the enemy CS. So, some growing pains, some miscommunication it looks like between PYL and Y4, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, new lane. Makes a whole lot of sense. What was that? PYL knocks back Caveman with the headbutt right there. Screw your battle dance. Yuki jumping through the wind wall right here, right into the Vanguard's edge, and Amy from the sidelines. Double flash comes out. Yuki with the final tower shot. He's going to be okay. Kill over to the mid lane.
Didn't even need the flick. Uses it instead on the creep wave to make sure that it shoves in. So it's a 2-for-1 special to burn Fire Rain because he got no TP. He's only got an Ignite and a flash. He's not coming back in any time of a hurry. And Swift's like, haha, all of this is mine.
Yeah.
I have a conspiracy theory. Tinfoil hat. Swift actually watches his lanes die, because it's kind of the meme right now that he'll, especially on Nocturne ult after the laner is dead, to go back into the...
Wait, he has done that. I watched him do that top lane the other day.
He's done it multiple times, and he just does it because he wants the farm. Of course, this is completely untrue.
All right.
Tinfoil hat, it's technically true, he just wants the farm.
Let's just keep an eye out for it, because immediately a play sprung to mind, but we'll see what happens. He's about to hit 6 very soon, though. It should be off of another camp or two, maybe this red buff, sorry. We'll give it to him. We didn't get a replay of the mid lane, but I do like what Fire Rain attempted there. Just the interaction we were talking about before brought the wind wall to interrupt the stun. Unfortunately, Yuki was like, well, I'm going to use myself as a skill shot and jump through you. Amy's going to head into the jungle right here, look for the flick, and Caveman, the guy has no vision of you. Why would you predict the juke there, Amy? He wants to back away.
What's crazy is that Swift pinged his red buff because he knew it was going to be invaded. I love watching Swift path around the jungle because you get such a good flavor of what he is as a player. If I could have anything, I don't want a mic check for Vici. I just want a mic check from Swift to Swift. Like, as he's just watching everything burn on his map, he's just like, well, I could stop the Baron or I could take this blue buff. And then his mid laner looks over, he's like, you're not getting this blue buff. But he's just like, yes, Caveman, you need to come here because I need to get level 6. I'm the Nocturne. They're taking everything away from me, but it's fine. I'm okay right now.
I mean, what's he got right now? Because he's got the Skirmisher Saber, he's picked up the Caulfield's Warhammer as well.
He's got Paranoia, baby. That's all he needs.
Yeah, there you go. That level 6 power spike. And I want to see where this initial one goes. Because for the first time, we're actually going to take a look at top lane. Jinu versus LGD. And now, obviously, this should be a good matchup for Jace, of course, into this Mundo Pre-6. And he has opened up a little bit of a CS advantage, but it's not that big.
And then, again, credit to Amy. I was kind of critical of them delay invading the bottom side of the map because then it would set up for Alistair Swain, but with Amy's creative pathing of going Swift's red, top scuttle, bot scuttle, not only did he 3-buff and gain complete control neutrally over the river, but he got the extra security for Jace anyway, so he was able to acquire what I wanted him to do with the delayed invade, but from top side, doing it from bot side. So great work on Amy, utilizing Talia's movement speed through the jungle and making sure that this Jace is able to punish the Mundo matchup, and like you're saying, boom, first item. Mortal Reminder.
Yeah, it's on its way.
Excuse me,
Execution Calling, that's the one. But yeah, I feel like a lot in this game is going to be falling on Amy's shoulders. However, unfortunately, he picked up this initial kill. Ooh. Wait a minute, did he take the off of reaction? I mean, he still missed it, but the point is that it was still really quick.
Well, they knew it was happening because Mundo sees that Jace walks down into the try. And poor Swift's like, I have to wait for Scuttle to turn around. Meanwhile, bot.
Okay, PYL is landing some janky headbutts this game, and he's looking for the stun once again onto Snow. Backs away to the tower, flash forward, out from Whitefall. Here comes Amy's one, seal the deal, and he is down. Flick of the wrist, and he falls. Another kill over to LGD.
And this is how this was supposed to work, but of course it didn't happen early. It only happens at 9 minutes because of the fumbled level 1. But now you can see the kill pressure in this lane, especially when you add in a factor like Talia. So much hard CC. The pull, the janky headbutt pulls, the flick of the wrist, and they pick up their first kill.
Almost poetic. And it's nice to see in this early game from LGD, because this is what they have to do with this composition. Look towards the top, the mid lane, and these winning lanes. If you don't get the advantage early, you're always going to be behind.
But they at least recognize that they're strong right now. We talk about Aurelia, especially on first back, having access to the Sheen. She's also got the Ninja Tabby boots in her back pocket, which means that they have complete river control. And then when you have Talia on top of that, who moves so quickly up and down the river due to the access to the walls, it's unfortunate that it's an Ocean Dragon, because that would have felt so much better if it's an Infernal, but at least LGD know. This is when our comp turns online, this is what we need to do, and this is where the snowball starts.
Okay, here's Swift's first Paranoia gank, or the possibility for it. Yuki's just going to have this one pushed back to his tower, and then Swift will walk away, and he actually has no camps other than the Crux to farm right now, so really his only option is to look for a gank. And he is putting a lot of time into this mid lane. It's a good 30 seconds now.
He needs Fire Rain to hit this, or at least try to bait Yuki.
Not going to happen. Yuki is staying away from aggro range. Yeah, he's staying outside of the Sweeping Blade range, which is making it impossible for him to find a guaranteed knock-up. So Swift is just a sad little Nocturne, unfortunately. He'll just have to go down to his Crux and farm this one out.
He's just going to be waiting for these windows. Now, because he is bottom side, and you can also see Fire Rain making the rotation bot through a great control vision that's been set up by Caveman, he's like, okay, I couldn't get it mid, possibly I get it bottom, but the wave got shoved in. And they're even going to hold it.
Yeah. This is just really unfortunate here for Swift that he just doesn't really have anywhere to go. He has one option, and now his camps are starting to respawn, so at least he has something to do.
And it's unfortunate for Swift, but great on LGD. It's very clear that they have a spidey sense, so they're tracking where Swift is, even without the necessary vision, and they're playing appropriately, denying him any sort of entry point or access point to this composition. And we talk about how LGD's comp really spiked very early game, especially on initial items, and having kill pressure. Same thing could really be said for Vici's composition. Yeah, not the Mundo and the Ezreal so much, but between Nocturne and Yasuo, you really do need those champions to get off on the right foot. Otherwise, it just takes them so long, and it's so difficult to execute on even footing in mid-game.
Let's see if this would actually spot Swift here.
I think that's his... Oh no, that's his second Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, it is indeed. Amy's actually 1,000 gold up currently on Swift, so I don't remember the last time I said that, but here is one of those games. I think he just got tagged by Vision right there. Yeah, Pings just went down here from LGD. Meanwhile, PWL looking for the invade on his own in the bottom side, but he has the backup of Amy, and again, Yuki with the constant push in the mid lane, which means that they can move into the jungle whenever they want.
Now, great read by Swift, though. He recognizes that his red buff is going to be taken. It's been pretty much contested every single time. He got its second rotation, but knew that Amy was in the area, and even a split-second reaction. So Swift shows himself topside because he knows that Amy is bot side taking his red buff. They see Swift that shows up into the lane. Immediately LGD trade 1-for-1. Slight tempo advantage to Vici because they have topside control, but I just always love the tug of war, the ping pong between teams and their split-second decision making.
For sure. I'm also thinking about how that matchup went between Jinnu and Aldi up there, because we didn't see a whole lot of it because a lot of the action was happening mid lane and bot lane, and indeed the jungle, but somehow the tower was already set up by Mundo before that even happened, so somehow the Mundo was actually pushing in the Jace there. Important to note, but still, the Herald is now being kicked off by Vici, as Jinnu is coming up here just to poke the shock blast.
LG are out of position for this, but Vici just frankly don't have the vision to know how many people are coming up. If they knew that Alistar and Swain were that far back, they would have just burned Rift Herald.
Oh, Amy stepping up, looking for that smite right there, actually pushing away Vici. Caveman jumps in, secures this one, takes down Amy, but here comes the cavalry. In comes White4 as well, but Caveman is already dead. Yuki takes him out, and Fire Rain splits from the pack, and he will go down. That was a sick 4-man knockup, but there is no follow-up, unfortunately. It will be a 1-for-2 trade, and LGD favored.
It seems like such a small window, but literally the 5-second difference where they held off on burning the Rift Herald because they had imperfect knowledge about where LGD were the difference between losing this mid-tier tower as well as all the kill gold there. So again, it's just very small windows between the difference of teams like LGD and Vici and some of our top-tier teams. Edward Gaming would have just burned that immediately and walked away and lost nothing in return.
It's internal timers. Nice little headbutt there from PYL, just activating that aftershock right there, and they will be good to go. So let's take a look at that one more time. So the Herald gets taken down, but of course bodyguard play here from LGD.
Yeah, a bit of weird communication. They decided to pull the trigger a little bit too late because, like you were saying, the cavalry has already come in, Swain is now there, and take a look at the bottom side of your map. Ezreal's just farming it up. Hey guys, I'm not there, that's a 4v5 at best, and you got blasted.
Jolly good time in the bottom lane, but what Vici did get off of that play, while they didn't win in terms of kills, is the Herald, because Caveman jumped on top of it face first.
But that ultimately means that it's kind of a wash, because say they use the Herald and they do trade mid for mid, they still lost the kill gold as well as the first priority for the mid-tier tower, so they're playing from, you know, a defensive position on the map right now versus an offensive one. So yeah, it's nice that they got the Herald, but because of the internal timer issue, it feels more like table scraps.
It is true. Really, like, the optimal position is for them to somehow just win a skirmish, win a fight, and then get the double tower off of the Herald. Like, it's a possibility, unlikely, but it is still a possibility. So just in the back of their minds, LGD, that this is something that could happen to them.
I mean, the nice thing is that Caveman gets an empowered recall.
Hey.
I always love it when the supports actually are the ones who hold the Herald. More often than not, it's the junglers, because naturally people are like, if we can keep our jungler on the map longer, they have the kill pressure, they have the gank pressure.
Yep.
But same thing can really be said for a champion like Rakan, who is so setup based in helping secure that vision, or more importantly, deny vision, so Nocturne can get into ganking positions with Paranoia.
No one expects the unseen cow, and no one expects him just to walk forward, so he doesn't expect the Duke. Aldi gets knocked back once again. What if with these headbutts, by the way? Here comes Amy's wall, brings it up, brings it down, and Aldi, I don't think he's actually taken any damage yet. I think this has been negative damage by LGD, and he'll walk it off.
He's just Mario Kart all over the top lane. Meanwhile, 3 resources up top means that there's only 2 to defend, and Yuki is trying his little heart out, but here comes Shelly.
That was a big Vanguard's edge, and that's enough to actually push everyone away. Thundering blow as well. Get out of here, Shelly. And that's how we'll still remain alive. Are you actually kidding me, LGD?
Yep, they managed to absorb the pressure and the failed play topside, but PYL looking for another piece.
Uh-oh, Swift completely separated from his team, comes over the Vanguard's edge, he's locked down, and for some reason Fire Rain is like, my life for my jungler, let's die together. We'll get 2 kills off of this.
PYL, I trusted you. I set you up. I saw the Alistar, I see the flash, I'm like, PYL, he's charging in, now he goes.
The unseen cow once again off from the sidelines, here comes Snow, he'll back away, but Caveman will bite it for him. And Aldi, what was that? He comes in for a conference call and it's like, alright, I'll see you later, boys. And LGD are going to take this mid lane tower.
He literally opened up the meeting board and there's just like a bunch of Velociraptors. And so he backs out and just
throws his briefcase and is like, I'm out, slams the door and leaves.
Oh man, I hope we get a replay from that. That was hilarious. Just watching PYL skirt around the edge of the fight like, Yuki, you got this? Okay, yeah, you got this. Huge plays from Yuki, showing up on the Aurelia, starting the fight, hitting the CC, and it is just a massive snowball for LG. 26 to 30k now, as well as 2 dragons in the back pocket.
Watching Yuki play on this, like this guy Aurelius, you know what I mean? Like he's got the mechanics on point, 4-0 and 2, and he's earned those kills as well. My problem with a lot of Aurelia players, especially when they get the MVPs, it's like they literally just last hit people in a team fight with a blade surge.
Same.
That's all that they did. Whereas Yuki right here has been setting up these kills with the Vanguard's edge and leading the charge. So really just nice stuff coming out from him right here.
So I try to play these little mini games in cast where I just look at my partner and I just try to bait them or tilt them.
I'm untiltable, Frost.
You're not taking the bait. Come on, Pulse.
Untiltable.
I hate Aurelia players.
And Irelia players hate you. So we're going to push in this mid wave once again from Vici and just try and get some semblance of wave control here. But it's not looking so hot. And we've got Baron spawning in 2 minutes. And honestly, LGD are set up for it.
I mean, check out the itemization difference. Again, we were talking about in the champion select with LGD's composition when it's going to spike. Look at their items comparatively to Vici. This could never be a fair 5v5 fight. They will automatically lose until we're closer to kind of the 2.5, 3 item point, and then it'll start to swing back in Vici's favor. And that is the stereotypical Vici. They usually do like to play slower games, but hello, welcome to 8-11. You don't have time to do that, and frankly, LGD with this composition have a better read on the meta and are executing cleaner. Now that said, there were opportunities for Vici to salvage this composition by using Yasuo and Nocturne as bridging champions to make sure that Ezreal came online and Mundo was able to get there. But Swift got completely shut out a lot by Amy.
Yeah, honestly, and it was, I mean, just straight up props to Amy. I've got nothing else really to say on that point. But I do have a counterpoint, and that's Mundo. Because Mundo's had a great laning phase. He's 1-0-0, has farm advantage, and now he's got the backup of Swift in the bottom lane as well. So if Jinu even stepped up, he would die.
And that's because Vici, reading the map, especially Swift and Audi, probably the salvage members here, are saying, okay, we cannot 5v5, we must split the map. We have Nocturne, so our composition is still able to do that in terms of trying to find picks, but that ultimately means that ball's in LGD's court. They could also just decide to hard force something, especially with the Talia wall, and continue to snowball their map advantage by taking more of these structures.
Stepping up to the plate right here. Here comes Jinu. Over the wall, laying siege. We're playing dodgeball now. Just waiting for this next minion wave to come in, because the last one was wiped out by the Ezreal two-shot barrage. PYL playing bodyguard, and this should be enough for them to secure the inner tower right here. Again, these constant Vanguard edges just keeping Vici at bay.
And it's just giving them more access over the Baron. It spawns in 18 seconds. It looks like they may be setting up a trap. They're going to cancel the backs and wait for someone to face check. No, we're just going to reset the map. So again, Vici recognized we are in no position to fight LGD right now. We want to split up the map. We want to trade objectives. We want to try to stall out for time. But time is frankly run out. The Baron has now spawned. Vici have to play the map perfectly while also red zone defense around that Baron to make sure that LGD don't get it for free and then just punch through and end this game on 2-item power spikes.
Now this is a very specific micro point, but what Aldi has done right here is he's maxed Masochism second instead of going for the Burning Agony. And what that tells me is he's actually looking to stay in 1v1 matchups and also look for shorter fights more than anything. Because typically you max the Burning Agony second when you build Sunfire Cape for longer trades.
Exactly, because it's about these side lanes. And you can see Swift, he knows exactly what his win condition is. He's
the Mundo.
Yeah, basically the fullback in the back line right there. And Mundo's the quarterback. He's just waiting for the handoff. Someone's going to come in for the blitz. I love talking football analogies at you because you're just like, what? Your eyes are glazing over.
Yeah, literally just glaze over.
Oh,
zero idea, dude. Alright, here comes Jinu into the bottom lane. Amy's here as well. This could turn into a 2 versus 2, but I feel like LGD know enough to recognize the fact that Mundo is not necessarily bait, but also unkillable at the same time. So it's almost Mundo is too tanky for this to work from Swift, because I don't think that LGD will actually go in on him.
But you're defining success by getting the kill. You know what I mean? You're saying that this will only work if Swift actually manages to find the pick and kill someone,
right,
when ultimately all they're trying to do is stall and buy time. And here you go.
So, talking about that kill, Swift is going to chase right after Jinu. He's slightly out of range for the auto attacks. Actually knocks him away. The flick comes through as well. Amy with the save, but now he's going in 1 versus 2. The rest of the team is going in, but he's got the Sonya's Hourglass to come in. Yuki over the wall, and everybody arrives just in time. Aldi, you're tanky, and he still gets the kill. That's the Masochism max. Goes in to the stopwatch once more. Gets a bunch of health back on the Masochism. And Yuki, they're trying to lock him down, but this Mundo just refuses to die. PYL will chime in.
Okay, so they got the kill, but again, success is not defined by the kills that trade across. Success is defined by the stall. And while all of this was happening, Yasuo, I believe, pushed 3 waves up into the top lane. Ezreal got himself 2 waves in the mid lane. And again, we are stalling. Baron's been on the map for 2 minutes. LG have been unable or unwilling to go towards it. So, yes, looked like a little bit of a fiesta there. You know, play the yakety sax, get the Benny Hill music out. But still, great play from Vici.
Yeah. So we're talking about defining success. You would call that success, that play right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
As long as they continue to stall. And again, you're looking at breakpoints. Snow now has, you know, his 2-item power spike on Ezreal. feels good, man. And now we're kind of waiting on Yasuo. And once we hit that, then Vici can feel super confident to just look down the barrel of LGD and match them tit for tat.
Now, after watching that Mundo in that fight just randomly stopwatch, I'm now starting to think about the possibility of Mundo building an hourglass. Now, this is just in the think tank. I'll think about it a little bit more.
Keep
but
it in
I just
lock it away.
I just realized that he got so much health back during the duration of that.
Look at that teleport. He literally, Ezreal was on the Nexus, and he TP'd to his in-hit mid-tower.
OPY, the initiation knocks up K-Man, and he is dead before he managed to jump back to his ally. Nice pick there from LGD.
And remember how we were talking about the only goal was to stall for time? There's no reason to face check in there. Yes, they pulled the trigger on the TP from Ezreal because they probably wanted to get him in range for that right there, which was the blue orb because they knew Baron was a threat. But just simple missed back timers and LG finally recognizing, okay, we're done playing in the side lane, we're going for the Baron.
Ooh, that's a big true shot barrage. These are some low health bars here from LGD. Couple people blinking red. Aldi is leading the charge on this one, has the Burning Agony running, and Swift does have the Paranoia as well.
Look at Snow. He's going to shift towards the mid lane. He recognizes that they're inside track here, so again, another huge win for Vici, and this is actually starting to get scary for LG. They're constantly getting stalled out. Vici playing a very patient and calculated game. Not the cleanest on execution, but the right plays.
Yes, they were doing the right thing. You're absolutely right. Even right there, as we were looking at on camera, they've walked up towards the red buff to see if anyone would rotate maybe 1 or 2 people to the red buff, maybe find a pick. Worst case scenario, we just take the red buff. So Vici will still get a small objective of that, and more importantly, as you said, stall out the game for these spikes.
And huge thanks to our observer right there. He basically was showcasing that Vici then, they took the mid-tier tower, they placed the vision onto the Baron, and now they are quickly collapsing back to their own side of the map and trying to reset it as fast as possible. LG, on the other hand, recognize that they have a small window. They can run back into this Baron pit and start laying down all the vision and try to get another pick like previously. But this time, they want it to be Swift.
Same bush, really?
If it's not broken,
don't fix it. I don't know. There's no vision. They're really just having to play this one by ear from Vici. True shot barrage, catch them in the bush. The teleport has to be completed. Swift is the target currently, but he's able to drift away on a Dustbringer. Aldi is separated from the team, but he's not really the target you want to go for with the LGD. He's just a little too tanky, and Snow is able to snipe out this minion wave, and LGD, again, stalls out by Vici, but this time, they got a tangible. They got the teleport.
Yep. And the issue is that Yasuo, at this point, he's not farming anything. He's not getting to that point where Vici need him to find, because he doesn't have access to the TP since he took the Ignite. And so they're kind of stuck in this poor situation.
Oh, he's going to be the focus, and he pops the ultimate instantly, goes down. Vanguard's edge onto 4. It's just an absolute mosh pit right now, but Whitefall is chasing down Snow, and LGD come up trumps. 4 quick kills, and Snow cannot contest.
And like you were saying, the tangible was the fact that they got access to the TP now. LGD are very, very low right now. You can see that Jinu's going to probably TP back into this. He's thinking about it. He's like, okay, if no one's going to contest, I don't need to TP. I can just walk down this little bot lane, and I can start prepping for this. But free Baron for LGD.
Whitefall's thumbs up just kill me every single time. And it killed Vici as well, so hey. And LGD will get themselves their first Baron of the game. 26 minutes on this one, and they've finally made it happen. I feel like that was almost the breaking point right there. If Vici had stopped them one more time, they would be fully back into this game, but we've broken it back open. LGD with the 9,000 gold advantage.
And again, it's the right call for Vici. Who's going to face check that? It should be the Mundo trying to scout out with his briefcase. But ultimately, the gold lead speaks for itself. They quickly grab Audi, and there's not enough for Vici to disengage from that fight. They see that Audi is dead. Swift, I believe, popped the Paranoia and flew in anyway, and they just don't have the gold or the items to match.
And it's those quick second snap decisions that come in when you're fighting a Mundo. You've got to focus them down immediately, because what the Mundo will do every single time is pop the ultimate. What you should do is probably not pop the ultimate, because you're actually wounding your own health bar. And LGD recognize this, take him out, follow through with the fight, pick up the Baron, move towards the mid lane, take down the mid lane inhibitor tower, and are looking for more.
This is going to absolutely melt now. Someone should be prepping the top lane. Unless they want to rotate bottom, try to get another easy outer, or end it here.
Or just engage onto Audi once more, knocks him back. Great thundering blow, and we've got to finish him off. There we have it. And Caveman will jump back to the rest of his team, but there is no tank now for this very squishy lineup of Vici, and LGD are lining up the kill shot. They are moving in onto these double Nexus turrets. Here comes the wall as well. Stopped by the Nexus. They blow up the first tower, the second, and LGD, when are they going to stop? Where's the line in the sand? Swift backs up at his team, already dead. And LGD look for the game 1 win, 27 minutes on the clock, and it is a complete destruction of Vici once more.
LGD recognized there was a problem, they blew up the roster, they taped it back together, and they may have found a solution. Now that said, it was just against Vici Gaming. We can't get too excited. I believe that a lot of people would favor LGD to win this matchup anyway, but what's good for me is that from both teams, even though the execution is still fumbled, it's the right call. These are the right plays, they seem to be moving better together, and it's not necessarily how well they do against each other, it's how well they're doing with the other guys on the map.
Absolutely, and while I don't wish to alarm you, Frosk, but I do think the majority of the caster team tipped Vici winning this game. So I think you included. I have to double check that one. I'll see if Fish is on call, but just need to double check that. But you're absolutely right. You would expect right now, I know we tipped last week, that LGD would be coming in with the win right here.
To be fair, I am on tape coming into this. LGD should have won this. I think I said that from the beginning, so
okay.
We're to pop it in. And the reason why they won this game, good segue there, is I'm going to give huge credit to Amy. I think Amy did a phenomenal job in the jungle with the Talia, just tracking Swift. Now that said, it wasn't just Amy, it was a whole team effort, especially from level 1 to put Swift onto the back foot, but huge effort from LGD to recognize, okay, what is Vici's win condition? It's going to be their jungler. He is the priority pick. He was the Nocturne. This is what we're going to do about it.
I fully agree with you. Like, I was impressed by Yuki's mechanics, but it's overshone by the fact that Amy did just a fantastic job in the early game. And it was also led by the bottom lane dying. And then Amy just reacted in the right way, was able to track Swift, and also be in the right place at the right time, setting up the mid lane, setting up Yuki for success.
And that's the key word, set up there. The volleyball was set up, and Yuki just had to grab it and smack it down.
You said I don't get sports references. I get that one because I learned it from anime. But no, really nice stuff from LG. I want to see if they can replicate not only in this series, but also moving forwards, because this is the type of thing that can actually accelerate them up the standings. And to go back on an old storyline, we call them the sleeping dragon. So really, it's just down to, can they actually wake up? I think that's the bottom line, right?
And it's who's going to offer the wake-up call. Right now, it looks like it's going to be Yuki and Amy, and not necessarily in their newest acquisition in Y4 in that ADC position.
All right, for now, though, we are going to send it back to the analyst desk to take a look at that Game 1 win to LGD.
And that's LGD finally able to take their first win. Yeah. Yuki spiking it down with that play to lock down the kill. Some little volleyball references there. But let's actually get into what they did correctly to break down this win. And we have to start from the beginning. We have to start from the picks and bans getting into this game, because there was a very clear strategy from Vici. Prioritize Swift. Play around that guy.
Through this pick ban phase, the thing that I want to talk about first is, well, firstly, they get Talia. So it's good priority from LGD in terms of the jungle role. They get the flex, of course. It can go to multiple positions. We've seen it support. We've seen it. We know that Talia is a very strong champion. That's good to us. But they first pick Nocturne. If it's a denial from Amy, you can pick another jungler. I think you'll be okay. Nocturne has a very high win rate in the LPL, so it makes you wonder if they've just taken that and they've run with it. And they've said, you know, we want Swift to get the Nocturne. We want Swift to carry, so we're going to give him the priority of the Nocturne. We're going to play that champion out. But then you give over Talia and Swain. Swain goes bottom lane, so immediately Vici are like, okay, we see the Swain. We know what happens when Swain and Rakan go together, so we're going to pick the Rakan away from you, and we're going to get a Yasuo. So we get a combo of our own. You're like, this is great. Yeah. Like, drafts go real well here. I'm pretty excited. And then they ban the Fiddlesticks and the Ornn. They don't ban the Alistar. And immediately LG are like, well, they got rid of Rakan. We'll just pick the other version of
Rakan.
Yeah, we'll just engage anyway. It still works super well with Swain, and you get to see what happens in that game when it does extremely well. But at the same time, you get to see what happens when it does poor.
Yes, of course, we're talking about that very first blood that we saw in the bottom lane that LGD decided to give over. They came in with the right idea, going for the red buff invade and tracking their way down through Tribush, where we started to see some damage out of Y4, just getting harassed as he made his way into lane. But to actually get into this first blood, the decision-making from LGD to try and take this fight was
just incorrect.
Yes.
They had to use 2 summoner spells to get Ezreal to half health, and they were already half health themselves with potions gone because they walked a lane from the tri-bush. So it's unfortunate for LG. They chose to take the fight at all. They shouldn't have committed that hard. Pulverize, take the trade, back away, and don't waste your summoner spells is what they should have done. It's just a trade. Leave it as a trade. Don't all in. That's a very... It doesn't matter what the AD carry is, let's put it that way. It's a prototypical LGD thing to do.
That being said, though, perhaps this is a little bit of the communication that we expected from a new AD carry coming in for LGD in that bottom lane, Y4 and PYL. Again, this was only announced, I believe it was this morning, or at the very soonest last night. So this is a very, very fast change-up for how quickly the player is coming in and immediately going onto stage. You could see the synergy in team fights. Y4 standing in the right places. He's focusing down the correct targets, albeit his laning phase with PYL still looking a bit shaky.
And it still worked out fine at 9 minutes in the game, right? When Amy comes down, when Yuki comes down shortly after as well, LGD still looked solid with their team play in this game. And that's something that Vici, you can't really speak towards as well. Something that they've been missing since the start of the split and very much exploited in this game was their team-based play, where individually they can get those kills in lane, but when there's 3 people there, when there's 4 people there, there's nothing that they can really do in response and they just go down. And for me, a lot of this, like the reason that they're having such struggles with their team play is that they don't know what to do. They may have an idea in their head, but they can't place the wards for it. And every time they try and get the vision down, either Caveman dies or the vision's in the wrong spot. And then they're using the broken vision to make that play, and they get caught out of position from it every single time.
And it seems like that's what we saw. At about 25 minutes in, we actually had a fight in the mid lane when Vici tried to counteract the play against LGD. They stepped up out of vision, and from there it's an easy wombo combo with the Swain just doing tons of AoE.
And in terms of order for Vici, sending the Mundo first is absolutely the correct way to do it, but you'll notice that, you know, he was able to perhaps just throw cleavers and walk away. Through all of this, however, LGD, they were able to completely map their opponents. They had superior vision. This is the shining light of that team alongside Amy in terms of enabling the team to get those victories.
And it was just a slow, easy roll for the Aurelia. Got a CS lead in the mid lane against Yasuo, was able to start roaming around. The only concern for Yuki seemed to have been Swift constantly controlling the top half of the map by taking Scuttle Crabs and trying to keep that Jace under pressure, but a quick lane swap after that bottom tier 1 turret take opened up the map for LGD and set them on the right track.
Yeah, and again, you want to give credit to LGD. I think they did play quite well in this first game, but you can really see how they're exploiting weaknesses of their opponents. So it's good that they're able to do that. They are able to exploit, but Vici's weaknesses were exacerbated by unparalleled amounts in this game, and that's surprising because it's LGD against them, you know? You come into this and you're like, strong laners, decent team fighters, their mid-game, their team play fairly lacking, yet suddenly Vici was, you know, still lacking, and LGD have been able to completely compound on that and just beat them down.
Well, perhaps Vici will be able to pick up their own mistakes and try to recover. We're going to go ahead and see if they can do that after we take a short break. Don't go anywhere. The LPL will be right back.
不破不立，只有经历巨变，老干爹才能重获新生。